Once upon a time in India, Indian government was not at all keen towards making India a manufacturing hub. Today, India is home to some of the best technical minds in the world. However, there was a time when global companies were hesitant in coming to India, citing several regulatory problems inherent to the region. With hardly any government support, global companies were facing permission issues in India. On the other hand, the Chinese government was allowing the foreign companies to set up their industries in no time, with no environmental or bureaucratic hassle at all. With everything put in place and production cost extremely less in China, getting a product manufactured in that Chinese country is actually a child's play. Prime Minister Narendra Modi realized that to start an engine of progress, he has to take major leap, and thus intervened with his landmark campaign Make in India, wherein MNCs can come to India and set up a business in a very short span. Government removed logistical hurdles too, and that improved India's ease of doing business ranking drastically. And India became the first country in the world to garner so much of foreign direct investment in India. Another deficiency in our becoming a tech giant is our services mindset. Service contributes largely to India's GDP. India developed SlideShare, the only well-known global startup from India. So why bringing a technology company out of India is actually difficult? And why a majority of companies are only coming out of Europe or the USA and now China? The reason is technology, which is the core of any startup. India's tech industry is built largely around outsourcing giants like Wipro, TCS and Infosys. Much of their work they do involves programming and coding of the products designed elsewhere. As India is dominated by service-based industries, a majority of the people wants to be in the hierarchy of the management and become managers, allocating the work to his or her subordinate, rather than staying in the core technology field. People wanting to go into the technological stream are very less. Now let's address another important question about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Does this slogan of Atmanirbhar Bharat have any substance to it? Well, it's quite complicated. Facebook has got 86% share of India's social media market, in comparison to Instagram, which owns almost 5%, YouTube, which owns almost 3.5%, Pinterest 3%, and Twitter close to 2.5% are diminutive. In search engines, expectedly, Google dominates with 90% share, then Yahoo with 2% shares, Baidu with 1.1% share, and Bing with 3% share are hardly even a competition. The instant messaging market is dominated by WhatsApp with 40 crore users and hardly any other competitor of note. $2 billion or 95% of the digital ad revenue, $2 billion of ad revenue generated out of India flows overseas annually. And Google and Facebook alone pocket about 80% of India's digital ad revenue pie. There are other issues too with foreign ownership of digital and social platforms, privacy and data security being the foremost. China actively encouraged and created its own versions. In fact, more versatile avatars of likes of Google, Facebook, Twitter and more. WeChat, for example, let's take WeChat. With 1 billion monthly active users, 100 crore active monthly users, it's an all-in-one messaging app that is Facebook, WhatsApp, Google News, Tinder, Pinterest, Make My Trip, all in one. And it has some third-party apps too, like WeChat mini programs. The Chinese use WeChat app for almost everything. It can do investments, bag bookings, flights, shoppings, paying bills, hailing taxis, transforming money, blah 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 blah. All the shit can be done through one app. You know what? Chinese users spend an average of over 70 minutes a day within the app. 70 minutes a day in an app. WeChat a Tencent holding entity. Tencent also owns 10% of PUBG. And guys, PUBG is not a Chinese app, so it's rather banned in China itself. So it's not a Chinese app, it was developed in South Korea. Well, let's slide back to WeChat. It is one of the most valuable companies in the world today, worth over $500 billion as of 2020. $500 billion, a messaging app developed by China itself with a huge government support. China has in the past 10 years created a formidable digital and social media ecosystem of its own that monetizes billions of dollars in transactions and generate mountains of ad revenues. And China has created an answer to everything American. They have an answer to YouTube, Google, Twitter, Facebook, Quora, WhatsApp, and everything else. And you dare not consider them inferior in quality at all. They are even better than the American social networks. There are many more digital giants in China now. Hence, fostering and promoting local digital and social ecosystem has obvious and immense benefits. Immense revenue generation is possible, many billions of dollars from transactions, with a huge downstream multiplier effect on millions of businesses, especially MSMEs. A couple of $1 billion are monetizable almost immediately in an ad dollars revenue. That too growing exponentially. Potential exists for millions of digital jobs. Also, more control on data privacy and even better data security. Well, having gone through the good side of the tech infrastructure, why don't we have local presence then? What's wrong? Why don't we have the local presence? Are we too late into the game? Well, not really. China has done it in last 10 years. Is it the lack of infrastructure of research and development then? Well, yes. Qualcomm India, let's take an example. Qualcomm India last year filed for 1800 patents, while our Indian institutes, DRDO, Indian Institute of Science, Indian Institute of Technology, NITs, ISRO, all of them combinedly filed 781 patents. Until we develop a serious culture of research, we would not be able to capitalize on our so-called demographic dividend. Now, can a cold start still create our own Google or Facebook? Well, yes. Look at the Unified Payment Interface that was kicked off very recently in 2016. And as of this year, as of 2020, there were 142 banks live on UPI with a monthly volume of 800 million transactions and a value of $19 billion. Pardon the train sound. UPI witnessed 1,000 crore transactions until 2020. The mobile-only payment system helped transact a total of 17 lakh crores during its first 3 years of operation. 17 lakh crore रुपए 3 साल में. This is UPI, हमारा खुद का invention. If we can do it in payments, why not in social media? All we need is a big game mentality. In sports, this mentality is exhibited by the likes of Virat Kohli. When he plays amidst a stadium packed with 100,000 spectators, shouting, cheering, hollering, celebrating, but Kohli shuts all of them out, shuts out the din and the noise, only sees the red cherry and wallops it out of the stadium. We have had some digital success. Flipkart, MakeMyTrip, Nykaa, Swiggy, Zomato, Paytm, Byju's, Ola, Policybazaar, Snapdeal. There are thousands. In the early days, 20 years ago, Rediff was trumpeted as Yahoo's rival. But our biggies are still tiny most times compared to the American and Chinese companies. Look at the valuation of WeChat, $500 billion. India, none company stood against it in such a market capitalization. Creating a company or of a level of a Facebook or WhatsApp locally is doable. It can be done, but it needs an actively supportive government, substantial funding, and maniacal devotion to research and development. And the will to create a global quality product. protesting and burning effigies of the Chinese and creating stupid copy of their apps like Mitro app or all the nonsense shit is not going to work. You know why? Because these Indian copies are not having sophisticated technology backing them up and high user interface that these big giants have made us used to. I mean, TikTok पे कोई बच्चा अगर वीडियो देखता है फालतू की बकचोदी की, तो वो मित्रो ऐप पे जाके ही वो नॉट फील गुड अबाउट. इंस्टाग्राम अगर आपने एक बार यूज कर लिया तो यू वुड नॉट बी एबल टू एंजॉय एनीथिंग एल्स, है ना, कंपैरेटिवली. Another factor that mostly goes unnoticed is inefficiency of our digital advertising. India is still a very young and digital advertising market, but we are not big, and apps such as YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, Indian competitors are mostly YouTube, TikTok and Instagram, these are mostly dependent not on Indian advertising. They still base themselves onto the Western advertisings and they invest on India. We certainly can build our own TikTok and other apps in India, but the challenge here is slightly more different and difficult. You have to understand the business model of these applications like Facebook and Google. TikToks, their main revenue comes from advertisement. Now, the main base of their revenue is advertisement. And last year globally, ByteDance, which actually owns TikTok, had $17 billion of revenue with $3 billion in profit. $3 billion, 21,000 crore का profit था अकेले TikTok से ByteDance को. Essentially in China and the United States. India से इतना नहीं था, United States और China से था. India is not a big advertising market like China and the US, at least not as of yet. The total ad spending in India across all medium such as TV, print and digital is around $10 to $12 billion, out of which digital space accounts for only $2 to $3 billion. जितना TikTok का total profit दुनिया से है, उतना हमारी total digital ad space है. Total ad revenue जितना इंडिया से generate होता है, it's just $3 billion. So most of these products essentially in India don't make money. YouTube, they don't make huge money out of it. But they are here for strategic reasons because they want to build a large user base. When apps garner a large user base, they can monetize it in the future. Apps continue their operations in countries like India by subsidizing their revenue from other markets such as United States and China. Apps like WhatsApp might have 40 crore users in India, but they don't necessarily make a lot of money out of it. Indian apps would not have the revenue from other countries to cross-subsidize. हमारी मित्रो ऐप सिर्फ इंडिया में ही काम करेगी और वो बाहर से रेवेन्यू कमा के नहीं ला पाएगी और इंडिया से वो रेवेन्यू कमा नहीं पाएगी तो सस्टेन कैसे करेगी? Here it is little more than a technological issue. बात सिर्फ टेक्नोलॉजी की नहीं है, बात एक एडवर्टाइजमेंट सेक्शन की है कि आप कैसे एक एडवर्टाइजिंग मार्केट क्रिएट करो. हाउ डू वी क्रिएट an advertisement-led product in India which is sustainable on its own, like WhatsApp or Facebook or Chinese app WeChat, is a giant elephant in the room that we need to address. Otherwise, the local may fail. But just remember one thing, if China can do it, India can do it too. We have, as I said before, the demographic dividend, a huge domestic market which can be cashed to national advantage. Local can win. And we do not have to drive out a Google or Facebook to create our own, just like what China did. Absolutely no. UPI doesn't mean a Visa or MasterCard has had to exit from India. It is just that we need to foster the culture of being able to compete with global competitors on home ground. India's global tech minds are willing to come home only if good aspirational opportunity is provided. But Indian startups would need huge government backing and some relaxation that Chinese companies had in China when they were growing. Not like Dr. Manmohan Singh's angel tax or Modi ji's good but a highly bureaucratic mess. Startup India. PM's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat is timely and aspirational. Let's see if some ambitious and driven entrepreneurs rise to the challenge.